Hi, I'm George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday morning. We're going to have some straight talk about account rounding. You keep hearing about account rounding, and everybody talks about it, and not too many people do much about it. So when I saw that great article by Virginia Bates on the Rough Notes about it, I thought, oh my golly, that's just exactly what people need because it's specific with ideas, and I really like that. And uh, let me show you Virginia Bates just for a minute and show you, here's her picture. I hope it's just coming up. Here we go. Yes, that's why I like to work with Virginia Bates. See, makes it kind of nice. Let me tell you about her. She is consultant, and I've known her for many years. We've worked together. We're still working together on things, and she consults with agencies of all sizes. She's taught seminars all over the country. She's worked with some big agencies, still works with big agencies as a consultant. I'm really impressed with some of the size of the agencies, but with all sizes she's done that. She she's certified the with a lot of companies, and that's a great thing. Well, I could go on and on about what Virginia's been doing over the years, but you probably have seen her materials and so forth, and we'll give you a contact thing. But she's really, really good at this situation because she understands the management system. So, Virginia, it's your move. What's going on?
Oh, thank you, George. This is one of the most important topics in our business, I think.
Me too.
And it's really a core problem because when any business leaves money and business from their clients on the table, that means that not only are they missing the revenue, but they're leaving their current revenue vulnerable to the agent who writes the other part of the account taking theirs. So we really need to figure out why we have this problem, and it is a problem. In my experience, maybe 1 out of 20 agencies has addressed this issue. The other 19,
gosh.
Isn't that sad?
I didn't know that.
19,
I didn't have any idea.
Yeah, they've either given up or they just don't recognize it's a problem, or they're making enough money that they don't worry about it until there is a problem.
Yeah.
And so the agencies that have fixed the problem have done very specific things. And I thought if we shared those with everybody,
Perfect,
that it would get some of those other 19 moving along.
There you go.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
So the whole goal here is to not only increase agency revenue, but we probably should have said on here, stabilize agency revenue so you don't go down. Because you can't stay stable. You're either going to increase or you're going to lose, one or the other. So when you think about it, and these numbers haven't changed in all the years I've been consulting, which means we really need to address this problem, that although you and I and most people listening probably have 5 to 7 policies that we pay for, homeowners, auto, umbrella, life, health, maybe a fire policy, rental property coverage, boat policies, motorcycle policies. Those are a lot of policies. The average agency doesn't write more than 1 3/4 of those, which means that we're not doing a lot of rounding.
You know, when I started Virginia many years ago, and I got involved with, I got watched State Farm, and I worked with some of their top guys, not for them, but I've been learning from them, and they had a higher ratio at that stage. I don't know what it is now, compared to like independent agents. Do you have any ideas? It's probably better, or
it's
not?
Much better, and I think the weirdness is, this is the strange thing, since most of those direct writers, the salespeople only have one company to sell.
Right.
They tend to be better rounders because their world is less complicated. We have more options, but it's so complicated we don't take advantage of the options.
Good point.
Isn't that ironic?
It is a good point. Yeah.
And I read articles, and everyone talks about personal lines. Commercial lines is just as bad because even though we have package policies, we have a lot of too skinny package policies with only 1 or 2 lines when we should have 5 or 6 lines in those packages. So commercial lines has the same thing.
Yeah, that's low, but I always also remember something else, Virginia, we haven't talked about it a long time, but it was the retention percentage when State Farm in those days. If you had one policy, it would be so many, and if you had the third policy, in those was life-oriented of some kind, your retention level was way up in the 90s. It was amazing, and that got my attention the whole time.
Right. Yeah, because if somebody else rounds your lines away from you, that's not good. If you have the whole thing, you're less vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay.
It just makes good sense.
Yeah.
And we have some insanity going on in our business because we get everybody in a room and we tell them we want them to account round, but we don't change the problems that are keeping them from account rounding, and then we're disappointed when the results are the same.
Uh-huh.
So we have to really change. We can't just tell people what to do. We have to change their agency world to give them the tools and the opportunity and the change that they need to do things differently.
Good, like that slide.
Yep. Now, in the article that you saw that generated this conversation, what we were trying to do was give people very specific advice. And sometimes we can get kind of nitty-gritty, but I don't know any problem that's ever been solved in general. It always comes down to a to-do list. And so this slide here is mentioning something that generates a lot of very adamant discussion. And it's a very broad-based subject. You can't correct something you can't measure.
Wow.
And so agencies are very flaky about how they record policy records in their systems. The goal in the system is to be able to tell what you don't have for each of your customers. And in order to pull a list of what you don't have, that means what you do have has to be put in systematically and consistently. So I can pull a list of everybody who doesn't have an umbrella. I can pull a list of every commercial account in a certain SIC code that should have inland marine coverage if they don't have inland marine coverage. And that way I can work on my problem accounts effectively. So this putting policies in your system consistently is critical. And it's really not even just putting policies in your system, right? It's putting lines of business in. So let me give you an example. If your you have two carriers, one of them does your umbrella as a separate line of business. You probably have that listed as a separate line of business in your system. If you have another carrier that endorses the umbrella to the homeowner's policy, very often you won't have the umbrella as a separate line of coverage. Well, that means if you pulled a list, you'd send a letter to those people telling them they needed an umbrella, and then they have an umbrella.
Oh, God.
So now you're just confusing them. And confusion is not a good marketing strategy.
Let me ask you something about an agency management system. Do the agency management systems have a way of, you put in how many policies per customer automatically and see
Not
that?
Not automatically, but they can give you a report of how many policies per account you have.
Okay, all
and
right.
That's one of the regular reports that I ask an agency to run when I go to visit them the first time, and I even ask them to sort that list by account manager. And it's interesting. Some account managers have much higher numbers than other account managers.
Good point. Good.
That means somebody's doing something better than somebody else.
All right, great. That
Makes sense, right?
Sets the scene for the next ones here. Right.
Right. And so on the next slide, we're talking about the people. I think we've all said people are the most important asset to your agency, your staff.
Yeah.
But the problem is we hire people who are good detail people, good paper pushers. What we don't test account managers for, or CSRs, is sales ability. We kind of think that's a producer thing. And I get very dismayed because someone will finally find an account manager who's good at rounding accounts, good at closing quotes for new customers. They immediately start talking about making that person into a producer instead of letting that person be a good role model for the other account managers in the office. So now we have all kinds of not salespeople dealing most with our clients, and we wonder why we're not doing a better job. So I make a big distinction, and it's not just semantics, between CSRs versus real account managers. Account managers is a true term. It's not an honorific. It's not a fancy word to make them feel better. It means they're really managing the account. And managing, by definition, means making things better.
You know, we should use this, Virginia. I mean, I haven't heard people use this at all. Is this a Virginia Bates title here?
It's becoming, I think, probably years ago, I pioneered this because I didn't like the term CSR, and I liked the term account manager, and the good people I met felt that they were account managers. They took that responsibility upon themselves, and they took it seriously.
Good.
And so now I hear more and more independently people talking about account managers, and it makes me happy every single time I hear it.
I can see why it would. That's a big, big thing.
Because the difference between the two is huge.
All right.
A CSR just is very transactional. She'll do a change and she'll do it right. The account manager uses that as an opportunity to suggest and sell other coverages that the customer needs.
I like it.
That's the difference. So to me, that's an important
Oh, I think so too. Absolutely.
Now, the other thing that you and I share is a knowledge that everybody in the agency has to be a technical expert, and because you can't sell something you don't understand. As a matter of fact, you won't sell it because you're afraid they'll ask you a question.
Right.
So it's very important that you not assume that the people in your agency know their lines of coverage. They really need to read policies. You need in your staff meetings to have coverage discussions. When a company comes out with a new product, you need to analyze what's new about it so you can sell it to your customers better. Here's a big deal. You need to know the endorsement portfolios of your carriers so that you can suggest additional coverages that can add up to nice revenue, but also protect you from E&O exposure. These are all really, really important things.
Is it really true what that's what I wanted to ask you. Is it really true? You know this to be a fact? Students in insurance sell more coverage? I never thought of it until I saw this.
I don't know that we have any hard statistics on this. I have plenty of anecdotal evidence that the agencies that round accounts have a very aggressive insurance education program in place, and they are education advocates.
Got it.
They send their people to classes. They have in-house classes. They have monthly lunch and learns. When their associations give them webinars, they take advantage of them. And they do that so that people can get actually passionate about insurance, and people who are bored by insurance go someplace else.
I got it. Core of the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
To learn aggressively. I wouldn't want to go to a doctor for advice if he didn't keep up with his technical knowledge.
Amen. Amen.
We're the insurance doctors. Right?
Clear the deck.
And this is equally important. And this is a statistic that the best practice study has confirmed, and we've studied this around the industry. Over the last decade, carriers have pushed about 30% more work onto agency service people. 30% more work. In that same period of time, they've reduced commissions 15 to 20%. So we have fewer people, fewer resources to do more work. And so with all of that logistical work going on, at companies, they need to know one company site, and an agency, a service person has to know as many as 10 different company sites. That's hard. So we have to make life as easy for people in the agency as we possibly can. Because if they're doing busy work, if they're doing things that don't need to be done, they don't have time to account round. And even those people who want to account round tell me they don't have time to account round because they're so busy doing logistical stuff, tasky stuff. So the first thing, of course, is using their current agency system correctly. I just had a conversation 20 minutes ago with an agency that is keeping manual spreadsheets for something that their system would produce for them automatically. They're probably wasting 2 or 3 hours per desk per week. Let's say that was all put towards account rounding, they'd have more revenue.
Obviously.
Agencies like to attach images of things like deck pages to their policy for absolutely no good reason other than they learned always to put a paper deck in their paper file. So now they're just putting a pretty picture of a deck in their computer system, even though it has the same information that their agency management system has, or they could get with a couple clicks of their carrier site.
Got it.
Now, why is that a big deal? we've studied this in the industry. An account managing CSR wastes about 35 to 45 minutes a day attaching things and labeling them uselessly. Again, if we took that 5 hours a week at each desk, we could probably round 2 or 3 accounts a week easily. That would be
good point.
a lot of new policies every single week. Yesterday afternoon, I wish I had taped it for you, a sales director who's an active producer said to me that he's focused this whole summer on getting the producers in that agency using their agency management system. And he said he himself is astounded how much that system will do for them from a sales and marketing and customer relationships management standpoint. And he said, we have been brain dead not letting our producers, not making our producers use the system to get all that benefit.
You know, I hear, Virginia, I've heard for years that like Vertifor and Applied and those people say that the average agency uses the marketing program at maybe 20% or 25% of what they could be doing. That's amazing to me.
I think that's optimistic. That's optimistic.
Okay.
And again, we've become a processing industry rather than a sales industry. That's our problem.
I got it.
The last thing here, every customer wants to know what it's going to cost, whether it's new business, whether it's a renewal, whether they're adding something. The most common question is, what's it going to cost? And real-time rating is one of the best things that's happened to this industry in 20 years. Real-time rating simply means that instead of rekeying, the information from your system literally flies over to the carrier site and gives you a number. And about half the agencies that try it say it works perfectly. Half the agencies who try it say it doesn't work, which means that the second group are doing something wrong.
Okay. Good. More people for you to consult with. There you go.
That's exactly true.
I understand.
So, just to summarize, the clearing the decks means that instead of wasting time and ending up in this lovely picture of a swamp, that actually looks almost pretty.
It is, doesn't it?
It makes the swamp kind of inviting. That's the only problem. What we really want to do is get out of the swamp and get back office work put with people who are not sales-minded. So if you've got someone in the office that you absolutely love, they're detail-oriented, they know their stuff, but they couldn't sell anything to save their life, you have a quality manager. A quality manager sits in the background and does mission-critical work. Make sure that everything is right, does the quality control for how the agency is using its system, does the quality control of whether we offer the right coverages and documented them right, and that frees up the account managers to be totally client-facing and work with the customer to really improve the account.
Good.
Isn't that a wonderful concept?
I love it. Yeah, it really is. I love it.
It's fantastic.
Bribe. How do you bribe your way out of the problem?
Well, yeah, you know, what we do is we think we can solve a problem by just waving money in front of people's eyes. So we say, you know, if you simply write a new policy, we'll give you $10. Well, if you're too busy, you're not going to find time to make the $10. So we've got to do those things we said earlier. And then we have to treat people like professionals. We have to correlate salary level with improved rounding. Buy policy incentives just do not seem to work. And the reason for that is if you give somebody money to do one policy and they lose 2 other policies, life's not good. So a better way to do it is to look at growth. So this per policy incentives we want to discourage, and we really want to think in terms of a growth bonus so that as the agency grows, both with retention and rounding in new business, everybody in the agency makes a little more money. Matter of fact, in some agencies, a whole lot more money. And I think in the article I addressed this point out of pure emotion. I am so tired of hearing that insurance is a commodity. Because what we've done is we've dummied down our industry so that we're just selling price to people. And then we have the nerve to blame the client for being price conscious when that's what we taught them. We need to teach them that policies are different, and some policies are just simply better than others. And if a policy that's better costs more, and you can convincingly show somebody you can actually upsell them from one product to a better product.
Good.
And that's why I mentioned the coverage spreadsheets in the article, because agencies that have done presentation spreadsheets for different lines of business, for instance, homeowners, auto, bops, umbrellas, even some marine floaters, and they list their companies down the left side of the spreadsheet, and they list the ways companies differ across the top, and they can show somebody, even in color coding, that a more expensive policy has better features. I've actually physically heard a customer say, I know it's more expensive, just leave me there, I like what I've got. Wow. That then cuts down on requoting, and it keeps the commission higher. Because every time we requote for price, we're giving ourselves a pay cut.
Right.
And if the customer really would like the features in the more expensive product but just doesn't understand them, shame on us. So clients, I believe clients like value. I think they're smart enough to recognize value in a policy.
I've been really a nut about commoditization ever since, well, the McKinsey report came out, but we all knew what commoditization is, and we all know what the Geicos of the world did and so forth. We've even developed a new program I haven't told you about yet, but it'll be out a lot, called Money Morning Markets. And it really, what it does is lets the agents show a lot, that we have a lot more than just what the Geicos of the world have. We also offer blah, 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 blah. And we have to convince people of that, and the world is that. And I love commoditization because it makes me very popular with people, because I go after it. I like it, yeah.
Yeah, and actually there's nothing wrong with a commodity. We invest in commodities, we buy cars, but we evaluate their features. A commodity in our business has become a dirty word, and what we really need to do is actually become more impressed with ourselves. I taught a class last week, and I read a statistic, I can't tell you off the top of my head where it came from, that 54% of insurance clients would stay with their current agent even if the price went up, because they respect and like their agent so much. So I asked 100 principals if they believed that, and 85% of them said no, that everybody would switch for price.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I felt so sorry for these people because they had such a low opinion of themselves.
Agree.
The 15% who agreed with the study and said, yeah, we keep customers all the time, even if the price is a little higher, they're the ones that are growing and making more money. It just makes so much sense. The other thing that our industry, I'm sorry, did you?
Well, no, I was just going to say, that, that quality sales training for account management staff and rounding, I haven't seen much in the industry over these years that is designed to do that for agents. Maybe if they listen to this one, they can start to develop it. Do you know, are there any sales training program just for rounding or account management?
Some companies are starting to do it, but you can do it internally actually pretty well. So you know how attorneys should never ask a question they don't know the answer to? I'll take a sales director or a sales manager aside, and I'll say, when was the last time you met with the account managers in a sales training session the way you do with the producers? And the look on their face is always so funny, because I know the answer is never. But all of a sudden their brain is working like, oh, I should be doing that. So if the agency is lucky to have a principal who's good at sales or a sales director, that sales director should probably spend at least 35% of his or her time with the service staff, because those are the people that probably need more help with sales and rounding than the producers.
Got it. Good.
And when they start doing that, all of a sudden the sales training pays off in sales effectiveness.
Got it.
So there we have kind of a rundown of that. Now the last piece of this is measurement. And so being able to evaluate whether the service staff, primarily the account managers, are following through is critical. And that means activities are consistent so they can be reported on and management can use them for overview. And of course, meaningful job descriptions that include account rounding, so that when you hire somebody or when you retool an existing person, they realize that their job is far more than just processing.
Got it.
That it's really making that account better.
Well, you said it beautifully. Here's Thomas Edison.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I thought this was your older brother, George.
Oh, thank you. It might have been. If I don't have it,
Yeah.
if I had any older brothers, they'd be 105, but that's okay. Go ahead.
And I love this quote. We can't solve problems with the same thinking that created them. This kind of summarizes the whole thing. We have to really shake up our agency, shake up our results. If we do the things the successful agencies have done, I can almost guarantee, matter of fact, I'll fully guarantee that it'll work.
There you go. I think it's been a beautiful presentation because it's back to the basics, but it's basics that we need to talk about now and then. I think, don't you? And I mean, it's just, I don't know that I heard anything new, but you put everything in perspective, and now I understand, the way to go about it. So I'm going to be passing this along to a lot of agencies, Virginia, and let's get your contact information up there so that they can call you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, there's a good idea. There you go. There's her phone number and her cell and her email address and her website.
Right.
And please.
And I'll mention, if you don't mind, I just
want
to mention
please.
that website because on that education piece, don't assume people know what they're handling in your office. And VMB Hits is a testing website where you can give people tests in all lines of coverage to see if they really understand homeowners, if they really understand BOPs, if they really understand commercial auto. It has every line of business, including all the benefit lines, and it also has tests for E&O safety, for business writing, for Excel usage, all kinds of good stuff. And that way you can do focused education for the things that people really need and not waste resources on things that they score highly on.
I think it's
so
a magnificent
I would just squeeze that in.
Yeah, well, no, I wanted you to because we worked together on the thing over the years, and you have developed, in addition to everything else, and then we've used your thing on insurance hiring system, but yours is much more depth on those areas than that. But you've also taken the 14 job descriptions for agencies and analyzed each of those, and I don't think anybody else has ever done that. I mean, we use that constantly on the insurance hiring system. So you've done a wonderful job.
Wonderful. It really is a good tool. We've got a great team that keeps it up to date.
Yep.
And quite frankly, I'm very proud of it. And it just addresses an industry need, and we've tried to keep it very cost effective because we understand money's tight at agencies, but education, I've always believed education pays off at least triple.
You are so right. And may I suggest to everybody that you take this, or that you send your people, anybody involved in account rounding and this whole thing, let them hear about it. I suspect, Virginia, last but not least, I suspect that a CSR, per se, who's not an account manager, would, if given these possibilities, might very well want to jump over into that. And I think, it opens up the door to so many people, so many things, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I
think. Does. I've had people thank me just because their life's better now because they're having more fun.
I am too, being able to interview, and thank you very much. For the rest of you, I'll see you again next Monday morning.